Chris Creative, have you addressed people using the Talmud as a way to get Christians to hate Jews, saying what it says about Jesus, etc.?
We've gone through some of that stuff in a couple shows where we looked up people's what people were posting and gone through some Nick Fuentes clips and gone through people's memes. So yeah, we've responded to that stuff occasionally.
Slightly, a little bit. I mean, there are parts of it that are kind of unaddressed, but some people actually think. What is that? I have a book here. Look what it says in the book. Look what it says. It says the Talmud. There are people out there online who post about Jews who actually think this is the Talmud. Like, they actually think this is what the Talmud is, because this is like.
I mean, in their defense, it says it right there.
They think this is what the Talmud is. I've seen people post stuff like, "Here, I spit on the Talmud," and they actually post this, and that's what they spit on. This is a book that explains the Talmud, that explains certain aspects of the Talmud. The actual Talmud is a library. There's not a single Jew-hating person who has actually read the Talmud. There's not a single. You cannot convince me that there is actually somebody out there of those people who has actually read the Talmud.
I can think of one, Jake Shields. And I can think of another, Candace Owens. Boom, you've been refuted.
The Talmud is 2.5 million words, or 2 million words, or something like that. It's like
yeah, but I mean, Jake Shields clearly reads 2 million words a minute.
You see, there are one or two references that talk about a Yeshua and a Yeshu, and the funny thing about those references is that none of those references actually corresponds to the time or the circumstances of Jesus. But one or two of those mention certain things, such as that he was a person who was leading the Jewish people astray and calling them to idolatry, and that he goes to hell. And then it's also funny that what is also pointed out in those texts, and this is just an instance of one rabbi having an opinion and talking about this and saying this. He then points out that compared to another prophet who was leading people astray and who was not Jewish, this one actually cared about Jews, and he was doing it out of care for his fellow Jews, which is why his punishment would be less than the other one. Now, let's give it the benefit of the doubt. Let's give the anti-Semites the benefit of the doubt and say all of this is completely accurate, and those references are actual references to Jesus Christ, and that he is actually being bashed and described as somebody who goes to hell. Okay, so what? So what? The situation here is that there is one rabbi in the Talmudic texts, which covers about 0.00000000001% of the entire Talmudic library. There's one rabbi who says something in passing, which certain people have picked out and said, this is what the Talmud says. This is why Jews hate Christ and hate Christians. This is nonsense. That's not how the Talmud works. Most Jews have never even heard of this. Most Jews have never even encountered this. Most who study the Torah and the Talmud have never even encountered this. Because it is simply something that is mentioned in passing, that is not even about Christianity. It is about idolatry, and about what Jews can and can't believe, and so on. And what happens to Jews who adopt false beliefs. That's what it's about. It is commentary by a rabbi, by an ancient rabbi, and Jews don't even agree what it's actually about. It simply mentions somebody named Yeshua in passing. That's it. This is not a scriptural text that Jews hold to. If you ask the average Jew what he thinks about Jesus, they will say, I don't think anything about him. And let's say they all actually, in this insanely absurd world, actually thought Jesus was a false prophet and he was wrong and we don't believe in him and we think he's punished. So what? So what? You as a Christian believe that they are that they are not attaining salvation, that they are all misled and misguided, that their leaders are liars and wrong, and that they will probably go to hell or something. This is just a situation. This is just a result of of not sharing each other's beliefs. So what? I tell you one thing: the first people out of the Jews and the Christians, the first who actually imported official declarations of condemnation against the other side were the Christians, who introduced in around 100 AD official condemnations into their writings about the Jews. Around the same time, it is argued that the Jews in their synagogues adopted certain condemnations against heretics, because they were arguing that the heretics were destroying the Jews. Among those heretics, it is assumed that Christians were also included. The two sides started fighting very early on with each other. But guess what? Until the 300s, the Jews and the Christians were still sharing common beliefs. Many Christians were still going to synagogues, and so on. It's all not that simple. It's so stupid.